Recently, I've seen some Twitter arguments about Nintendo, and yes, I'm sorry for using Twitter too, but the arguments always come down the same. Is Nintendo becoming irrelevant? Or is it just a product of Twitter again? Well, I think we all know the answer, but to be fair, it's not completely without merit. Hey, I'm Jack, and we've got a serious problem. AAA gamers are getting mad at Nintendo, and, well, Nintendo frankly doesn't care what they think. Ever since the N64, Nintendo has always been behind the competition in one way or another. The N64 example, while being more powerful with 64-bit hardware, was a cartridge-based system, despite both Sony and Sega already having switched to bigger and more efficient CDs a year prior. Continuing on to the GameCube, Nintendo once again avoided using standard DVDs and made proprietary mini DVDs to prevent piracy, which only had a capacity of 1.4 gigabytes when the PS2 supported discs double or even up to 4 times the GameCube capacity. Then the Wii. This time they finally started using full-size DVDs, but at the cost of them using nearly exactly identical hardware from the GameCube. It was more powerful technology, technically, but especially compared to the competition of the PS3 and Xbox 360, it was nothing to scoff at. Plus, they had whatever this is as a controller. Wii U was just about the same situation. The controller wasn't awful for modern games, but the hardware just wasn't up to snuff. And I mean, if you look at the games that came out at the end of the PS4 and Xbox One's lifespan versus the last games that came out on Wii U...
Oh my god. I get it.
Okay. At last, we have the Steam Deck. At last, we have the Nintendo Switch. Such a unique and brilliant product from Nintendo that has already been beaten out more than twice before the end of its life cycle. Now, of course, you're getting a Nintendo Switch to play Nintendo games, and these guys can't do that, right? Okay, is Nintendo becoming irrelevant? When Xbox has a service that gives hundreds of games away for $10 a month, and the PS5 has whatever the PS5 has, and Gabe Newell is out here building the best Nintendo piracy device, what legs does Nintendo have to stand on? Honestly, doesn't seem like they have much. It's not like people are buying the Switch for gimmicky motion controls or bad marketing like their last consoles, so what keeps them afloat? What's gonna keep the Switch 2 alive? At this point in writing the script, I don't even know, so let's find out together. Of course, when it comes to any console, the only reason they can stay relevant is because they have games. But who's gonna help with those games? Well, with today's sponsor, Southern New Hampshire University, it could be you, or me, or your dog. With SNHU's online game development program, you can finally learn everything you've been procrastinating on. With expansive lessons on 2D and 3D game development, you'll have the opportunity to be better than all those chumps at the other company. At SNHU, you'll learn everything you need to know to make your perfect game. C#, C++, Java, done. When you graduate and start job hunting, guess what? We'll help you with that too. SNHU is accredited, nonprofit, and has crazy affordable tuition, so there's no reason you shouldn't jumpstart your future by going to snhu.edu/arctic. Linked in my description to see how you or your dog qualify for SNHU's game development program. By the way, you might even be eligible for financial aid and potentially use previous college credits to help fast-track your degree at SNHU. Click the link to get started today. No, SNHU does not have a history of enrolling dogs. However, your dog may have the chance to play basketball, as there are no rules that say otherwise. We're in an industry where 2 out of the 3 biggest parts are constantly trying to buy out their competition. Meanwhile, Nintendo is just sitting, idly, happily only having acquired 1 company in the last 5 years. Gosh, talk about a lack of self-confidence. Now, to be completely fair, after Insomniac was purchased by Sony, the first game they released was Spider-Man Miles Morales, an awesome spin-off of Marvel's Spider-Man. And right after Nintendo purchased Next Level, we got Mario Strikers Battle League. So, yeah, that happened. But nonetheless, it's clear Nintendo has no initiative to catch up to the other guys and opts to do their own thing. So, what gives? How does Nintendo still manage to hold a dedicated fan base and user base while the nice guys always finish last? Except for the Wii U, and GameCube, and N64. Well, in essence, it's because of Mario, and Luigi, and Link, not because of Daisy though, screw you Daisy, and Kirby. But even more so, it's because they don't care about having the best graphics or performance, sometimes to a nauseating degree. If you ask any gaming PC enthusiast, they say Nintendo is dying because they don't match the competition in terms of performance. But I'm here to say they thrive because they don't match the competition. Sorta. I mean, it's not like they'd be hurt by having a game run at a stable 60 FPS, but it's what they choose to focus on instead. Ever since the beginning of the console wars, it's been about performance. And I'm not just talking about Xbox versus PlayStation console wars. Going all the way back to the 8-bit NES, Sega one-upped them with their 16-bit console, and made it a massive point in their marketing to say their console is better at doing games in every way. So Nintendo matched them with the SNES, and also released one of the best 2D platformers ever. And it was so edgy, this guy swore against Nintendo forever. What? Like I said at the beginning, Nintendo's last powerful console was the N64. And I think at that point is when their philosophy really set in for the future of the company. See, Nintendo hasn't always been much of a tech company. In fact, they were never really a video game company. However, they have always been a games company. First they had playing cards, later on they started making toys. And with video games taking off in the 70s and 80s, it was only natural for them to follow suit. But when it comes to the console market, they're still a toy company. They didn't experiment much with the NES or SNES, but when they started work on the N64, oh boy, who could resist making the world's weirdest controller? I think it's a very clear reason why the weirdest thing Sony has made was the iToy, and the weirdest thing Nintendo has made is all of the above tied in first place. Unlike Nintendo, Microsoft and Sony are clearly tech companies, and there's absolutely no denying that. The moment Nintendo realized its competition was gonna cheat by being established tech companies, who cares about having the most gigaflops and terradoodads? Because screw you, we have Luigi. Before Nintendo could show its true colors as a toy company, it needed one last piece. And that's where Lord and King Satoru Iwata reveals himself. Without Iwata, Nintendo without a shadow of doubt would become irrelevant, just as Sega did. However, Iwata brought a new energy to Nintendo. Iwata brought fun back into the company. While the competition was slaving over HD and later 4K graphics, Iwata just wanted to play bowling. 60 FPS with realistic graphics? Nah, I want to play Animal Crossing and get a headache. What I've been building to is the fact Nintendo has always cared about the gameplay and overall fun you can have, rather than wasting all their time building the most beautiful, realistic Italian plumber they can. As long as Nintendo stays this way, they're never going to be irrelevant. It's not like other companies don't care about how fun their games are, because otherwise Nintendo would be the only company. But Nintendo has a certain charm and love for gaming that you only see with indie games. Basically, what I'm saying is that Nintendo is just a really big indie company with lots of money. But honestly, it's not far from the truth. Microsoft and Sony are spending billions of dollars to own every developer under the sea, but Nintendo is just having fun. Sometimes, the fun is at our expense, but a lot of the time, the fun revolutionizes every part of the gaming industry. Nintendo will always have millions of fans, even in the worst circumstances. Meanwhile, the other guys, they have fanboys, but ultimately, you're only gonna play the console your friends have, or the console that has your Call of Duties, or your 2Ks, or your Maddens. For Nintendo, you're getting the console because you want to play their games, and frankly, you can't say no to this adorable face. In other news, I hear the nominees of the 2023 Game Awards came out, and as someone who made dozens of videos of Tears of the Kingdom before and after it came out, I'm pissed that Pikmin 4 wasn't nominated. This game is absolutely the game of the year. I could play it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and still be hungry to play it again the next day. I swear, this better win every other category it's nominated for. Who cares about Baldur's Gate, and Final Fantasy, and Tears of the Kingdom? I live for Pikmin 4. And you know what? I'm gonna go on stage at the Game Awards and voice my concerns. And while I'm waiting for my bail after I'm arrested, I hope you'll be here to subscribe and come back again for more Fortnite funnies. I'm Jack. Thanks again to SNHU for sponsoring. I hope you eat the proper amount of vitamin C, and as always, keep cool.